Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the October meeting of the Clackamas Water Board. Would you please rise and follow me? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. So was unable to be with us this evening, so he was asked that as Secretary I chair the meeting. Dora, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Fly?
Here.
Commissioner McNeil?
Here.
Commissioner Sterling?
Present.
And Commissioner Hubbardson.
Here. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the modified agenda. Motion to approve. Second. Discussion?
Yes. Considering the untimely distribution of the two documents that the general manager has passed out, I believe in the agenda items number 4 and number 5 should be removed at this time. In addition to the reason not having enough time to adequately review the documents that Mr. Moore submitted, I believe the constitutional attorney needs to look at those sections so as to determine if in fact the person's constitutional right for free speech would be voided by passing such amendments in board policies.
Thank you. Is there any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will now move into public comment prior to our public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak to items not on the agenda at public comment? Seeing none, we will recess the regular meeting and open the public hearing on ORS 190 agreement, Clackamas River Water and Sunrise Water Authority. This is the first public hearing of the Clackamas River Water Authority's Board of Commissioners. Clackamas County, Oregon will be called to order to allow members of the public an opportunity to testify regarding the proposed ORS 190 agreement between CRW and Sunrise Water Authority. The public hearing will be closed by board action, and a second public hearing will be held at the next CRW board regular meeting on November 14th, 2013. We move to public comment, and the first individual I have on the list is Mr. Bill Schoenberg. Is that correct?
I'm not speaking.
Okay. Looking on the list, thank you. Just present, all right. The first person who's actually asked to speak is, handwriting is difficult to read.
I apologize.
Kobe
Bill Kabizman?
Kabizman?
Yeah.
Mr. Kabizman, please. Thank you.
The second person is also Paul Elsner, I believe, and
Right.
you could join me at the same time.
Not a problem.
We'll save the board some time.
So my name is Bill Kabizman. I'm an attorney with Harvey Schubert there, and we serve as the city attorney for Oregon City. And hopefully we submitted this letter to you tonight. I saw you had a chance to at least glance at it this evening.
And you probably also received a copy of our letter. My name is Paul Elsner. We represent the South Fork Water Board, and we sent a letter off to Chair Soa on October 7th. I also see that you had an opportunity, you had at least a chance to glance through that. And both Mr. Weisman and I are here basically speaking on the proposed intergovernmental agreement that we have with Sunrise Water.
Could you gentlemen perhaps, for the benefit of the Clackamas River Water ratepayer, expand a little bit more in regards to specifically who it is that you represent and the how it is that you've come about to be here, or perhaps you're going to go ahead and explain that to our ratepayers?
Sure, and I think we will get to why we're here. What I can tell you specifically who we represent is the city of Oregon City, the entity that is the city,
And we represent South Fork Water.
And that essentially constitutes a substantial number of ratepayers.
Let's hold our questions until they've actually had a chance to testify, and then if there are questions, there'll be an opportunity to ask the questions. So let's go ahead with your
Okay,
testimony.
I'll take the lead.
Thank you, sir.
As I said, our firm represents South Fork Water Board, and an attorney in our firm, Chris Crane, who authored the letter, and he and I both had an opportunity to take a look at the proposed intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas River Water and Sunrise Water Authority to create what appears to be a separate entity, charged with many of the activities and functions that both Sunrise Water and Clackamas River Water have. We understand and we applaud the what you are attempting to do by creating to efficiently manage and operate basically an approach to efficiently manage and operate your systems, and so that they both complement one another. And I said, as Mr. Crane said in his letter, that South Fork Water Board supports your efforts to improve coordination and long-term planning and to explore possible operational and administrative efficiencies among the two water providers. However, we are concerned, South Fork Water Board is concerned that the agreement apparently contemplates extending Sunrise Water Authority's statutory protection from territorial withdrawal to a proposed new entity. We note that Clackamas River Water faces a loss of service area to annexation, while Sunrise Water enjoys a stable service area. And the agreement goes on to provide that the full benefits of each entity under their respective governing statutes inure to the benefit of the entity, this new commission that you're proposing. We do not believe that the proposal, that particular proposal will be effective, and we do not believe that if you are attempting to essentially protect the turf of Clackamas River Water from possible annexation activities by the city of Oregon City, I think that will, in fact, that will fail. And as you know, and basically we believe, South Fork Water Board believes that if you attempted to exercise that authority, the commission attempted to exercise that authority, you would unfortunately have to engage in litigation. And we believe that any attempt to exercise, basically, what I'll say is have a territorial stasis, would have an adverse impact on our clients. So we believe that we would ask that you hold off on consideration of that intergovernmental agreement, and if possible, withdraw a portion of that intergovernmental agreement from it in its draft form. I'll let Mr. Weisman go on.
Thank you. And I think South Fork and Oregon City both share their concerns. And we also support what CRW and Sunrise are trying to do to the extent there's mutual benefit involved in it. That's great, and it's something that Oregon City supports. But we do have a significant concern about the ability, the impact that the provision Mr. Ellsner discussed would have on Oregon City and its future growth. For a little history, I know just to present the full picture. In 2005, CRW tried to transform itself into an authority through a board order of Clackamas County, of the county itself. Oregon City and South Fork challenged that attempt then. We ended up prevailing all the way through the Court of Appeals, and the CRW wasn't able to do it that way, and probably not going to be able to do it this way. At this time, we recommend that either the CRW addresses in its, or that the agreement address it in the terms of the agreement that this is not the intent, or at least consider a delay, as we've identified in our letter, that there are some engineering studies and some other attempts that may help to address this and resolve some of these issues. But at this point, I think if it were to go through as it is, the city and South Fork would probably have little choice but to attempt to resolve this issue in a way that really doesn't do CRW or Oregon City or South Fork or Sunrise any good in expending more ratepayer dollars on a dispute.
Thank you. Mr. Sterling, you had a question?
Gentlemen, have you been provided with this referred to as Ordinance 03213 with a yet another draft copy of the ORS 190 that's been put forth by Mr. Moore?
The only copy I have is what's labeled version 2, draft August 13th, 2013. If there's a new version, we haven't seen that.
Yes, then you haven't seen one. This is referred to as final version,
Okay.
October 3rd, 2013. So it's extremely important, and I'm sorry that you have to come this evening without having had this copy made available to you so that you could delve into it and properly serve the citizens of Oregon City as well as the ratepayers of South Fork. It's extremely important that you understand that, because this document, as it is presented, provides no opportunity for it to go in front of a judge before these people here sign it. Obviously, I'm against this. Do you have any doubt in your mind that I'm against it, either of you two gentlemen?
We'll take your word.
Right, and let me assure you that you can pass it on to your citizens and your ratepayers also too. It's a very expensive document to my ratepayers.
Do you have any further questions?
Not at this time, no.
Thank you.
We will review that. I understand it will be coming back before you on November 15th. We'll take a look at that.
I'm not sure if the most current one is online yet, but I was going to ask
Yeah,
Jennifer.
essentially, they're one and the same. We just dated this one that Mr. Sterling is talking about for today's date.
Okay, so there's no
No
substantive
substantive
change?
changes.
No substantive changes. So, but what we'll do is the one that is watermarked, we'll, just in case, we'll send you another copy.
Okay.
So you have.
Thank you.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm very clear on this. The only objection that you have is the issue of the extension of authority status.
Let me,
That's what I got from your testimony.
Yes.
That's the most substantial one. What I can tell you is that John Lewis, who is the Oregon City Public Works Manager, had some additional comments, and we talked about them, and we thought, that's more operational. At this level, this is something the city is concerned with. At a operational level, there's some things that, maybe might be improved, but it's the type of thing where the CRW and Oregon City work together on a daily basis. Oregon City serves some area in CRW serves areas in Oregon City. And we fully expect that cooperation to continue. That's not the issue. It's more the 30,000-foot level. This is the key one for the city.
Yeah, from our perspective, from South Fork's perspective, what this is it's a jurisdictional issue and essentially an authority issue.
Okay.
In terms of what authority can be transferred and what authorities you can grant to this new commission. With the way we read the way we look at this agreement, it appears to attempt to expand and create some third party or some third entity and invest in it authority which we don't believe that can be transferred. Okay, because it's not actually authority, if you look at the statute, that's basically given to either Sunrise as a water authority or Clackamas River Water. Okay, so, and I think what is that it's that an attempt to essentially establish an inviolate border that basically is
At the heart of your
at the heart of the concern. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Got it.
And lastly, sir, we have been told in past meetings that a major problem with Oregon City is its failure to have the proper people on staff to discuss these issues. Has that situation been corrected, and are your people up to full staff as far as these water issues and annexations are concerned?
As far as I know, those concerns certainly haven't been communicated to me. But,
Could you possibly inquire so that in November we have a clear idea that the city of Oregon City is up and ready and prepared to defend themselves, please?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
And the last thing that I'll say is that if the board has any questions and they want to either ask South Fork or Oregon City and direct them to us, you can use your legal counsel to do that, or you can go through our respective agencies and ask us if you want us to prepare anything in advance of your November hearing.
I know there have been some preliminary discussions between our staff and your folks, and obviously we're encouraging our staff to continue those discussions and hopefully resolve the issues.
That's certainly our hope as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Members and members of the commission.
Just, there being no one else who has signed up to comment, but I will acknowledge if someone else would like to make a comment.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't realize you needed to sign up.
What? Ms. Holloway.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Holloway. I'm a ratepayer. I'd like to address this issue from the perspective of Clackamas River Water ratepayers. I reviewed the initial document in great detail. It had all the flaws that our preceding two speakers discussed. And in its present form, for the moment setting aside the issue of a kind of underground attempt to get to be an authority for CRW, the original document and the original premise, and I was part of the discussion back then, was that yes, there are economies of scale and all that, and there are existing memoranda of understanding between CRW and Sunrise. But the reason for creating an ORS 190 entity, a commission, was to extend Sunrise's authority status to CRW territory. And that was considered, and that was going to be the benefit for CRW. The Sunrise benefit was to get water and potential access to water rights, which it does not have at present time. Now, as this agreement is worded, if you remove the authority aspect from the agreement, all that, there's only downside for Clackamas River Water ratepayers, because you, 1, 2, 3, 4, and absent 5 commissioners will be giving away 10 MGD of CRW water in exchange for presumably nothing but some financial benefit that you can achieve through a memoranda of understanding or an ordinary IGA. Sunrise will reduce its wholesale water cost by 9%, right off the bat. CRW ratepayers will be paying the commission for CRW's own water at rates set by the commission, and the present general manager of Clackamas River Water will be assured of a further 3-year contract as an employee of that commission. Now, adding a layer of bureaucracy on top of what is already on CRW's side, and I don't believe on Sunrise side. I think Sunrise is actually extremely well run. Adding that layer of bureaucracy on top of CRW's already heavy layer of bureaucracy is just another layer of expense to the ratepayers. So,
Your time is almost up.
all right, I believe that this is seriously detrimental to the interests of the ratepayers. I'm in no way opposed to economies of scale, efficiencies of that sort. I think that's a great idea. But I think the end game here is to lay claim to South Fork territory, basically. And I simply do not see that there's any benefit in it to CRW ratepayers. If we got authority status for CRW, yeah, that'd be a benefit. But as it stands, unless that is the end game, and unless that is successful, it is an absolute giveaway of CRW assets to an entity that can then, for the benefit of at least 50% Sunrise, sell that water somewhere else. And you all read the newspaper, you know what's going on all around. Portland, Tigard, Tualatin, etc.
Keep it to the agreement.
Yes, I understand, but it is to the agreement. And,
You reiterate.
now, excuse me, Mr. Humberston, but if you would let me speak, I can finish in time. I am speaking on
Your
topic.
time is already up, but please just cut to the chase.
It puts an asset into that entity that can be sold to other parties for the benefit of that entity. At the most, half would be to the benefit of Clackamas River Water. So I don't see anything good in this for the CRW ratepayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, before I close the hearing, is there anything that you would care to respond to prior to closing the hearing?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Any other members of the board care to make comment? Okay. We will close the public hearing and reopen our regular meeting. The first item on the agenda is the first reading by title only of ordinance 03-2013, an intergovernmental cooperative agreement with Sunrise Water Authority pursuant to ORS 190. Mr. Moore, would you please read the ordinance, title only?
Well, I thought I pulled that out. I mean, we had two different sets of agendas here. One that was sent to us and one that was just handed out just a few minutes ago.
We approved a modified agenda at the beginning of the meeting. Go ahead, Mr. Moore.
Ordinance 03-2013, an ordinance of Clackamas River Water Board of Commissioners approving an intergovernmental cooperative agreement with Sunrise Water Authority entered into pursuant to ORS Chapter 190. Whereas the Clackamas River Water CRW is a municipal domestic water district organized under ORS Chapter 264, which among other powers authorizes CRW to do all acts which may be requisite, necessary, or convenient in carrying out the objects of the district or exercising the powers conferred upon it by ORS Chapter 264, and whereas Sunrise Water Authority, SWA, is a water authority organized under ORS Chapter 450, which among other powers authorizes SWA to do any acts necessary or proper to effect and carry out the purposes for which the authority was formed pursuant to ORS 450.600 to ORS 450.989, and whereas ORS 190 allows governmental entities such as CRW and Sunrise Water Authority to enter into intergovernmental agreements, and once entered into, the unit of local government, consolidated department, intergovernmental entity, or administrative officer designated in such agreement to perform specified functions or activities is invested with all powers, rights, and duties relating to those functions and activities that are vested by law in each separate party to the agreement, its officers and agencies, and whereas CRW and SWA have negotiated a cooperative agreement which establishes a joint entity for the purposes of cooperatively managing the assets and operatives of the two agencies with the intent of achieving more efficient operations not available to the separate entities and providing other benefits such as boundary protection not currently available to CRW, and whereas the CRW board has determined that it is in the best interest of CRW to approve the cooperative agreement negotiated between the parties, which draft agreement has been subject to public hearing and testimony.
Thank you. Item number 3, Resolution 06214. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 3-1. Item number 4, Resolution 07-214. Is there a motion?
That was pulled out of the agenda.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. I asked the door to repeat the vote.
It was agenda items 4 and 5 that he pulled. He didn't pull number 3, which we haven't addressed yet, which is the resolution 2013.
My understanding is that was a request. The
Voted on.
board voted to actually keep the agenda as is with the addition of the additional agenda item. That was my understanding. Am I incorrect?
That was my motion. That was my motion.
And then he
Was to
pulled
approve
for-
the agenda the way it is.
Okay, it's not very clear, but
No, it's not clear at all.
Well, the intention of
We may want to, for the record, bring the issue back before the board and clarify the record.
Okay, gentlemen, you care to make another motion?
I do.
Please make the
I
motion.
move to approve the agenda as it was published in front of us here.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comment?
I object.
Objection is noted. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 3-1. Resolution 07214, item number 4. Is there a motion?
Are you not going to do agenda item 3?
We already did.
Just did it.
This one, it's, that's section 4. I have this agenda item 3. That was an additional agenda item. Remember, we added that item to the agenda?
What I have here for item number 3 is 06-2014.
Yeah, right.
Let's see what agenda. Okay, this is the agenda, additional agenda.
We already did this.
Right. Number 3 is section 4, board policy.
We
Resolution, okay. I thought you approved the first reading for the ordinance.
No.
Okay, you didn't.
We just did the
Okay.
first reading.
All right.
Okay? All right.
So we're on
On number 4.
number 4.
Yes. Number 3 was approved. What happened was additional agenda item, first reading was done. Then we approved resolution 06-2014, second reading. Then we are now moved to item number 4, resolution 07-2014. Is there a motion?
So move to accept.
Second.
Discussion.
I object.
Objection is noted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
General Manager.
Yeah. I hate to prolong the agony,
That's all right.
but I believe that Ms. Campbell is correct. We did not read by title Resolution 06-2014.
So what you're asking is that we actually read the,
And you should read it by title, I think, for purposes of the record.
tell you what,
And
this,
I think the board should act on it.
well, we have active, go ahead and read the
Okay.
resolution 06-2014 and 07-2014 by
Okay.
title.
All right.
That makes it work better. That is fine with me.
Resolution dash 2014, a resolution amending Clackamas River Waters Board Policy, Business Operations, Section 4. Whereas a regular meeting was called by the Clackamas River Board of Commissioners of Clackamas River Water District on October 10, 2013, and whereas pursuant to the provisions of ORS 192-640, notice of said regular meeting and the purpose thereof was given by email, clackamasriver.water website, and/or telephone to the members of the governing body, the news media, which has requested notice, and the general public in accordance with the requirements of said statute. And whereas after consideration, the Board of Commissioners finds that, 1, Clackamas River Water Board Policy, Section 4, Business Operations establishing governance for the board. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners, Clackamas River Water, that Clackamas River Water Board Policy, Business Operations, Section 4 is amended to read. And then I'll go on to read the next one.
07-2014. And Dora, thank you.
0720-2014, a resolution amending Clackamas River Water Board Policy, Section 5 through Section 8. Whereas a regular meeting was called by the Board of Commissioners of Clackamas River Water District on October 10, 2013, and whereas pursuant to the provisions of ORS 192-.640, notice of said regular meeting and the purpose thereof was given by email, Clackamas River Water website, and our telephone to the members of the governing body, the news media, which have requested notice, and the general public in accordance with the requirement of said statute. And whereas, after consideration, the Board of Commissioners finds that, 1, Clackamas River Water Board Policy 5 through Section 8, establishing governance for the board. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Clackamas River Water that Clackamas River Water Board Policy, Section 5 through Section 8 is amended to read.
Thank you. Item 5, Resolution 10-2014, first reading by title only, amending local contract review board rules. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Would you read this by title only, Mr. Moore? get the process correct this time.
I do not have the first reading. Mr. Chairman, we're going to have to pull that one for the next meeting. I do not have a resolution for that.
Okay. Would you withdraw your motion?
Or amend the motion to remove item number 5.
Yes.
Second.
Then item number 5, all in favor of removal for the agenda and postponing till our next meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Take you. Motion carries. Item number 6, to approve the construction contract award for CIP 10-5108 Carver Bridge Transmission Main Phase 1 North Intertie. Adam?
Good evening. Just a point of order, I guess. I believe the local contract review board needs to
Yes.
convene for this.
Yes.
Award.
Do we have to do that as an actual convening of the contract review board in language?
You don't have to legally, but as a matter of course, CRW has. So I think our practice has been to convene the contract review. So I would invite you.
Then I'll recess our regular meeting and convene the contract review board effective at 6:31 PM. Adam?
Thank you, Commissioners. Adam Bjornstead, Engineering Manager. And I'm presenting on construction contract award for the Carver Bridge Transmission Main Phase 1 North Intertie Project, CIP 10-5108. As is, you can see in your agenda write-up, I don't have any slides, but I'll just go through it briefly. The project is Phase 1 of the Carver Bridge project, Intertie project. This piece of the project, or this project, will from the northern extents of the project area, which is the intersection of Highway 224 and Springwater Road in Carver. We will be tying into a 12-inch water main that is Sunrise Water Authority's water main. We have been granted permission to do this. And this will provide a 12-inch water line that will then run down and interconnect with the 18-inch water main that is being built as part of the county construction project for the Carver Bridge. This was a budgeted project, budgeted CIP in the 13-14 fiscal year. And we advertised the project to 4 bidders. It was within the intermediate bidding range according to the rules, so we did not have to go to formal bid. So we got at least 3, and in fact we did. 3 of the 4 responded. And on September 24th, held a bid opening. As I said, 3 bids were received, and Exhibit A summarizes just the invitation to bid and scope of the project. And then Exhibit B, I'll draw your attention to that. That is the notice of intent to award with the spreadsheet attached to that, which has the results of the bid opening in detail. The 3 bidders were DM Excavating, Wildish Standard Paving, and K&R Plumbing Construction. The apparent low bid was DM Excavating Company out of Happy Valley, Oregon, at $89,130 even. And staff reviewed and concluded that through this notice of intent to award then was issued to DM Excavating to award the project to them. We proceeded to evaluate the contractor through the normal means by checking the Lowly prevailing wage eligible contractors list, and also the construction contractors board review this for their responsibility determine that the contractor is responsible. We used D&M on a number of projects with great history with that contractor, and recommend that the staff or that the board award the contract.
Thank you. We'll place a motion on the floor, and then we'll have questions. Is there a motion to accept the bid?
Second?
Okay, questions? Yes.
Adam, what is it that is first and foremost in your mind in regards to the disparity among the 3 bids that were submitted?
That's a good question. And historically, we do receive a range in bids. Part of the issue with, I shouldn't say issue, but certain contractors, for whatever reason, will weigh certain bid items heavier than others. DM Excavating and K&R Plumbing historically are local contractors that are very competitive and accommodate the local water districts with very competitive bids. Really, if you look at the spreadsheet, you can kind of go down and see the items that were more outstanding among the bidders.
Did you notice the difference in the cost of material, the pipe itself?
I did, yes. Yeah, we have and you're correct, the range there, price per foot for ductile iron water line, in this case, 12-inch restraint, was $65 a foot versus $85 a foot. That were actually the bid by two of the bidders. And again, we find that the low bid is definitely within our historic costs for that type of material.
And it falls within the specifications?
That is correct.
The material that's being provided?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All the bidders receive the same bid document with all the specifications and design drawings. May come down to a contractor's goal to achieve a certain amount of markup. Certain contractors operate differently in that sense. So there could be a number of reasons.
What's the approximate percentage? I'm not asking for a specific number. What's your estimate of the difference in the cost of the material between D&M and the next, well, the other two were exactly the same, if I remember correctly?
That's correct.
What's the percentage difference?
I didn't calculate that, but.
As a mathematician, to a certain degree, I'm sure you'd be able to do it quickly.
Sure. I mean, you could look at maybe a 15% difference in their bids.
On the material only?
That is correct, material
Okay.
only. I'm just looking at the
Good.
pipe item.
Very good,
Right.
good.
Mhm.
And I must say, I have known the Meng family since 1974. They're just as honest as the day is long. And so is their family and the people that settled in the valley there also too. K&R's good people also too.
Yes.
Mhm.
Both good contractors. We've had some
Absolutely.
good history with them. They've done quite a bit.
Yeah, and they'll be there. You give Danny a call if there's an emergency, he'll gather up the troops and come get it fixed.
Any other questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? The motion has been made to approve the award. So,
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye?
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, unanimous.
Yes. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
No.
3-1, motion carries. Financial reports. Carol?
Good evening, Carol Bryce, Chief Financial Officer. This evening on presenting financial reports, we have, starting off with the accounts receivable aging. And the September balance was quite a bit higher than the balance for July, but that's to be expected this time of year because the August billing is always higher than the June billing. So we had a balance that was about $65,000 higher than it was 2 months ago. But when we look at what the current balance is outstanding, we're down to about $63,000, $64,000. So we have been collecting at a pretty good, responsible pace. And in fact, the outstanding balance currently is about the same as it was at the end of the June billing, in spite of the fact that the August billing was very high. And for some of our customers, it was the highest water usage they had had in many years, primarily due to the weather. We had an earlier, warmer spring, summer, and so the August bill is, in my estimation, will be our highest bill cycle this year. Cash and investment position as of September 30th, we have a little over $9 million. Our LGIP is at 7.6, and the general checking account is $1.7 million. But we haven't moved any money to the local government investment pool at this time, which is an option that we have. We can move it from the checking account
But coming up at the end of October, beginning of November, we do have our debt service payment, which principal and interest is $395,780. We're also seeing some more activity on the CIP project, so we expect some larger payments going out. So I'm going to wait until after that debt payment, and then if we still have significant balances in the checking account, we will probably transfer some money to the local government investment pool, which is earning a little bit less than 0.5, but that's, you know, a little bit more than the checking account earns, which is nothing. I did want to include, and this isn't on the agenda, but I did want to include that the auditors from Moss Adams have been in the offices this week. The audit seems to be going quite well. We've been able to provide them everything that they've been asking for, and we anticipate being able to present the audit to the board at the November meeting.
You have a question?
Ms. Bright, do you have a copy of the email that Julie, what's her last name? Desmoni sent to the individual commissioners?
I have seen the letter that she sent to the commissioners, yes. I don't have it here on this line.
Did you read it?
Yes, I did.
Do you understand the implication of it?
The implication is that as the auditor, she is responsible for communicating with the board about any issues or concerns that the board might have with regard to operations at the district. So any of the board members are free to contact Julie Desmoni with any concerns that they would like to discuss with her.
You understand that's completely contrary to the ruling of legal counsel in contacting third-party contractors?
The audit is a little bit different. She's going under the Oregon minimum standard rules, and that is typically the way the audit works. I don't know if you recall, but there were a couple of years ago, I believe, she met with the board in executive session. One other year, she and Nancy Young met with the board members individually.
Do you understand, once again, the issue that Mr. Phelps has brought forward, prohibiting commissioners from contacting third-party contractors?
You have been invited to contact the third-party contractor.
That's all I needed you to say.
We'll move on.
Okay, now moving on to our August 2013, our revenues, you can see, are looking pretty good. And in fact, I'd like to point out that little tiny yellow sliver there at the top of the fiscal 2014 column. We've actually collected about 90% of our projected system development charges for this year. So I don't know what other things are out there in the wings, but I do know that there have been some other inquiries, so I believe that we'll be making that target this year, which will be nice. The expenditures look a little bit funny again compared to the revenue page, but what I wanted to do was keep the scale the same. So you can see that our revenues are significantly higher than our expenditures to date. And again, that is to be expected because our highest water usage is during the summer months. So the August bill has a big impact on that. As we move forward, the October bill is likely to be lower than it was last year with as much rain as we got during the month of September. And I've spoken with Rob, and I know the production was down a little bit, so we're getting the meter reads in now, getting ready to do the October bills. But I anticipate the volumes there to be a little bit lower than they were last year at this time. And then here's our comparisons from one year to the next in dollars. So you can see that our water sales are up significantly. You may also notice that even though in those columns the expenditures looked relatively low, in the personnel services, at this time last year we had not yet paid our workers' comp invoice, and in the numbers for fiscal year 13-14 we have, and that's about 60% of that difference. And then other things are just additional rentals or paid-in costs that we've incurred earlier this year than we did in prior years. And in the materials and services segment, a big portion of that $107,000 increase in expenditures is related to the purchase of water from South Fork Water Board. The volumes were higher. Again, what we sold to our customers were higher volumes, so the volumes were higher. And last year when we recorded the cost to South Fork Water Board, it was before we had come to agreement on a new rate. So we paid that increase, but that was later in the year. And then add to that, if the board will remember that we've also shut down the well. So whereas last year we were mixing well water in with the water we purchased from South Fork, this year it's all South Fork water. And that's all I have, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
One, given the water bills being higher, I would be interested to know how collections have been going. Are people able to pay the bill, or are we gonna have to write some of this off, or?
The economy is definitely getting better because we are having collections that are putting us at about the same spot as we were a year ago.
Okay.
So it's not, our balances aren't increasing significantly.
Yeah, the uncollected balances
Right.
aren't increasing. Okay.
We do have some people, and in fact, if you look, and go back a few slides here, if you look at the 90 and over, that's nearly $20,000 in that 90 and over.
Mhm.
But we actually have quite a few customers that had leaks in their irrigation system or some other challenge, and we have offered them payment terms, sometimes out to 6 months to
Oh.
allow them to pay.
Kind of smooth that
So
bill,
some
yeah.
of that, active accounts are sitting there in that 90 and over column. And we've made payment arrangements with people, and we
So expect to collect
talk to
that.
them and communicate with them, and they've been keeping up their end of the bargain.
Okay.
So I had the same concerns
Yeah.
as you with these large bills.
Right.
Are people gonna be able to handle it? But so far, I think that more people are working, the economy has improved enough to enable them to make those payments.
Good, thank you. Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
management report.
This was a report, we have spent quite a bit of time with our counsel that we have ordered to, that we have hired to assist us with the current litigation. We've had several conference calls with them. There was a hearing that was held on September 12th. I think some of the board members were in attendance at that. There was a challenge by ex-Commissioner Mitchell to not allow both CRW and the county standing in that hearing. The judge rejected that argument, and I believe a hearing is scheduled for November 12th, at which time the issues that were alleged will be heard by the Circuit Court of Clackamas County. We continue our meetings with the Milwaukee staff. We've had 2 meetings with them. They've been very productive. We've gone over the 190 with them. We had committed that we would return once the document was completed, at least in draft form. They didn't express to us any real concerns about the document. It is understood, but they did have questions about the IGA that we have with them that was negotiated or amended in 2008. And we had a second meeting with them to begin to talk about that particular document. And we left that meeting essentially with the agreement that they would forward to us any concerns that they had about the document in writing so that we could respond to it accordingly. There was a board work session this month. As many of you are aware, we went through the LCRB rules that we were going to talk about today that have been set over for the next meeting. Staff is making a few amendments to the definition sections, and those will be presented when they are completed. We had not had good luck with our previous employment law firm. We had a gentleman who has since retired, and we informed the board that we had hired a new law firm, the Bulliett Law Firm, that are very experienced labor lawyers, as you know. We have a labor agreement that will be negotiated this fiscal year, and there's some work that we need to have done as a result of that. And I think that they're well suited to be able to help us with those efforts.
Mr. Moore, you need to take and tell the ratepayers that the cost of this ORS 190 agreement is going to be
Excuse me.
part of this.
Excuse me. He is giving his report. I will give you an opportunity to ask him questions regarding his report when you're done. Please do not interrupt his report. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Moore.
The management staff, as we've on the board in weeks and months past, we're working on the revision of the strategic planning. We did an overview of the strategic plan with the board, and staff is continuing our work efforts there. It is going well, but frustrating sometimes because we're all trying to get on the same page in terms of language and terminology. You know that we are planning for a presentation that's really a continuation of discussions that we had in the spring about rates with the FCS group, and they will be coming at the next planning session, which was scheduled for the 21st, to allow the board to ask more detailed questions than was asked before. And also staff will be providing a presentation on our CIP planning and the projects that we have planned for the near future. And that information will be provided to FCS as well. And so you'll have an opportunity to continue those discussions. The last item that I have is that during the storms that we had over the last several weeks, we had some damage, storm damage to a neighboring property that occurred. A large limb fell on the neighbor's fence and storage shed. He's quite elderly, and he has asked CRW staff to assist him in repairing the fence. He's not interested in his shed. It looks like those expenses will be somewhere around $2,000, and we'll be paying that out of our insurance contingency fund that we budgeted this year. So we were fortunate that was all the damage that was done. So that concludes my report for this.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Commissioner Sterling, you had a question.
Right, I was concerned for the ratepayers' benefit. Well, let me first preface that the two union people that have contacted me assure me that there's not going to be any problem in settling their union contract. I mean, that's just information that they provided to me and asked me to keep it on the QT. And I felt very comfortable with them contacting me. But the thing that concerns me at this time, Mr. Moore, is that you're continually putting off the fact of the huge cost this ORS 190 is costing the ratepayers. Even going back as far as that Cochran person and the tens of thousands of dollars that were paid to that person, the upgrade of all these computers and everything. And now we have I was going to say black and white, but black and yellow, your statement here that they're going to have to be paying more in regards to labor relationships with the employees of Sunrise Water. I mean, somewhere along the line, it's got to stop. The ratepayers have got to take and stop having to pay more and more.
Is there a question?
I don't have anything else to say.
Would you care to respond, Mr. Moore? At this time?
I didn't hear a question, so there's nothing to respond to.
Fair enough. Okay, any other commissioners have questions of the general manager?
The limb, was this tree on our property?
The tree was on our property
Okay.
and fell across the
I
fence.
understand, thank you.
Mr. Klein?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Public comment. This is the final opportunity for the public to make comment. Is there anybody in the audience that has anything they feel they need to say? Seeing none, commissioner business. Any commissioner have any reports to give today? three things that I'd like to make a comment on. I had the opportunity to take the Bull Run watershed tour. I would encourage anyone who hasn't done it to do so. It was very both entertaining and educational. And it was interesting to note the difference in the geology and how the Bull Run geology gets their water compared to ours. It's very informative as far as I'm concerned. Then I had the opportunity to take the Clackamas Water Providers Tour for our watershed, and once again, very interesting. I would encourage people to take it, and there's a particular focus on what PG&E is doing with respect to protecting the fish and fisheries in general, and that was particularly fascinating in some of the new technology that they're using to encourage the salmon runs. I think those of you who like to fish or who are into environmental issues would find it very, very interesting. And finally, I attended the SDAO conference on boardsmanship, and there were a number of issues that they raised. I don't have all of those with me, but there were 2 points that I thought were, that hopefully we'll always all remember. One is that when the board makes a decision, whether it is a 3-2 decision, a 4-1 decision, or a 5-0 decision, it is a board decision, and we all own it. And the second one was, it strongly recommended that all boards develop their own particular code of conduct, not just go by the state's code of conduct, but also develop one of their own. And I know that Mr. McNeil is working on that on our behalf. And that said, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.